Okay, so I already made a video about the Nintendo versus Pocket Pair slash Palworld lawsuit. And in that video, I went over the patents to the best of my ability. Like I said in that video, I'm no patent attorney. So I don't, I might have misinterpreted something. We got more news about it recently. Pocket Pair came out, and now we know exactly what Nintendo's suing over. And that was released a few days ago, and I didn't jump right in to do a video. I wanted to kind of sit and really get my thoughts together on exactly how I wanted to make this video and how I wanted to structure it, and I wanted to sit with my own thoughts about exactly how I feel about this. Because to me, this lawsuit just looks like corporate greed trying to beat the little guy down so they can make more money. That's what it looks like. To me, it looks like Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are saying, you will play Pokemon and you will only play and buy Pokemon. You will not go out to another creature catching game that looks similar to ours. And personally, for me, that doesn't sit well. I have been a gamer my entire life. I think I picked up a controller when I was 2 to 3 years old, and I have not put one down since. I have seen Nintendo go from rags to riches. I have seen the N64, I've seen the GameCube, I've seen the Wii, I've seen 2D become 3D, I've seen N64 graphics become HD PS3 graphics, I've seen Sony come out with a $600 console and flop with that just to come back a generation later. I've seen Microsoft be ahead of the game for all of the PS3 and Xbox 360 lifespan just to fall behind because they got too cocky and Sony took over. And Nintendo's always been kind of that middle ground. They've had fun, enjoyable games that were made properly, that were fun, and was worth the price tag. They cost what the game was. It wasn't a $60 slop fest like the recent Pokemon games have become. And quite honestly, in my opinion, Nintendo feels so threatened by this small Japanese company that, albeit Palworld was fun, you gotta admit the game was it's not complete. It's still in early access. But you could tell that these guys don't have a ton of dev time. They don't know how to develop games like Nintendo can, like Sony can, like Microsoft can. The cracks show in their game Palworld and in the game Craftopia, which was another one that was released in 2020. And obviously both Craftopia and Palworld has taken inspiration from a whole bunch of other game genres. Nothing's original here. But yet, in my entire almost 130-hour playthrough of Palworld, I platinumed the game. 130 hours it took me. I couldn't put the controller down. I have not played a creature capturing and monster taming game that much within a month since Pokemon X and Y. Pokemon X and Y was released over 11 years ago, and I feel so old just saying that. I just turned 11 in October, and I feel super old saying that. X and Y was the last Pokemon game that really hooked me, between the competitive, the breeding, the shiny hunting, the community in general. It wasn't the best Pokemon game, but it was a well-crafted Pokemon game. Sun and Moon wasn't bad, but you could start to see the laziness kind of pop up with Game Freak and the yearly Pokemon money printing machine. You could see the cracks starting to show. When Ultra Sun and Moon was released a year after Sun and Moon, you really started to see the laziness and, well, this is just a giant cash grab. Then Gen 8 came out. We had the Dexit controversy. We had the N64 trees with Sword and Shield, and we had the, overpriced DLC, and the lack of a main story, and the online functionality wasn't as crisp as Gen 6 and somewhat Gen 7 to an extent. And then Scarlet and Violet. Then Gen 9 came out, and we still have Dexit. while the game runs a lot better now, at launch it did not, and the game still chugs with frame rate, and without external emulation, and I know Nintendo, I know you hate that word, but without emulating Scarlet and Violet, the game just does not run on native Switch hardware good at all. It took the fans to actually make the games run properly. And then on top of it, again, another overpriced DLC. So, like, for Pokemon fans, we've been starved for an actual good quality Game Freak game that's fun. Doesn't have all this corporate meddling that every AAA game has nowadays. Gaming as a whole on the AAA side has just gone downhill from what games were about. I can't even say like 5 years ago even. Like, a AAA games 5 years ago was a AAA game. Now games are being sold half-baked, you know, buggy as all hell, needs constant updates. So for a small indie studio to capture me and suck me into a game to where I want to already go back and play Palworld a second run through. I want to start from scratch again because I have so much knowledge of the game now. I can think, wait, I could do this early, I could do this early, I know how to do this and this. I want to play with friends and everything else, which makes these lawsuits sting all the more to me and makes me just hate the business side of Nintendo in general at this point. The 3 patents that came out, and they're going to go up on screen, I'm going to abbreviate it. If you want to pause the video and read through, completely okay. I get that. I'm no patent attorney, so I don't understand this fully. And, you know, this was translated from Japanese too, so, you know, stuff may not have been interpreted correctly. Let's remember that. But patent 7545191. Basically the Pokeball mechanic. This is what everyone expected the Pokeball mechanic to be sued over. You throw a Pal Spear, it shows an indicator, you know, it shakes 3 times, shows the percentage of how you're going to capturing it. You can capture something in a spear, throw it out, and fight with it. We expected them to go after them for this. Understandable. I still don't think it's a good idea to patent game mechanics. But I can understand why Nintendo would want to patent something like this. Because, you know, when you think of throwing the spear out, you think of Pokemon. That's the first thing to come to mind. Understandable. The second patent, though, 7528390. Being able to basically smoothly switch between mounts that are capable of traversing land, air, sea, you know, above ground, below ground, on top of being able to send them out and fight. Nintendo, you're not the first company to do something like this. Wow, World of Warcraft did this years before you thought of it in Legends Arceus. Lots of other monster taming games have done it. We've had rideable mounts in most open world games that they're technically a part of your team. You hit a button and they call and they can fight alongside you in some games. Like Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West are the perfect examples of this. You can tame flyable and ground-based mounts and sea-based mounts, and they will fight alongside you if they're provoked. You don't exactly send them out in a spear to fight, but they're part of your team, they're part of your inventory. This is such a broad patent that I don't even know how this got past the patent office, to be quite honest. Like, this is where it's starting to show that Nintendo's just being petty. They just want to kick the little guy down because they made a better game than the slopfest that they released on the Switch, being Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But I feel like this is the most, like, outrageous one. Patent 7493117. If I'm reading this correctly, it's basically an indicator pops up to show the, you know, the capture rate, the percentage of you capturing a creature. And lowering the HP, putting a status condition on it, weakening it in any way increases the capture. On top of that, you can summon said creature or said object by throwing it out of said object into the field and they'll fight alongside another actor that's in the field present. And also they have a status screen for your team, and you have move lists, and you know, you can see stat gains post fight and everything like that. It's basically the entire engine that 90% of RPGs have used. I can pick any RPG, and you are an actor in a field, you engage with another actor in a field, you fight, you gain XP. There's also other games. There's also other games. I believe like Yokai Watch, Monster Hunter, Craftopia was released in 2020. That's something made by Pocket Pair that, you know, they have similar mechanics to Pokemon. You capture something, it shows a percentage sign, and then you can send creatures out and fight. Ni no Kuni is another one that you can capture creatures and you send them out. You don't throw them out as spears, but you still send them out and they fight alongside you. You can engage in a field like that. So, you know, between these three patterns, the first one, understandable. You know, the Pal Spear is a Pokeball. It's a ripoff of a Pokeball. I will give Nintendo that. I don't think they're overstepping in that pattern, but I still don't think that they should be allowed to patent a mechanic of throwing an object to capture a creature. That's just too broad for me. The second and third one, though, they're just being petty at this point. In my humble opinion, after reading all this and reading Reddit posts, and I'm part of a Palworld group on Facebook, and just talking amongst like the community, we all feel that Nintendo's only doing this because they feel threatened that someone else did something better than they did. Because all they're asking for in compensation is 5 million yen sent to Nintendo and 5 million yen for the Pokemon company. That's like around 60,000 US dollars, which is nothing for Pocket Pair because Palworld sold amazingly, and that's chump change to Nintendo. 60,000 is nothing to Nintendo. So it's not about the money. At this point, it's about a indie studio made Pokemon better than Nintendo, and Nintendo is mad. Palworld makes the new Pokemon games look bad, and Nintendo doesn't like that. They're pulling a Disney, basically. They're pulling a Disney, they're pulling a Microsoft, they're pulling a Sony, where if something makes your games look bad, they yank it. Like before, a good example of this, before the GTA trilogy was released, which Sony and Grove Street Games knew that game was a broken, buggy mess. The game was fucking riddled with graphical bugs and glitches, and the games were not what we were expecting from the definitive edition of GTA 3, San Andreas, and Vice City. So what did Rockstar do before the trilogy release? They delisted the classical PS2 games, and they took down all the mods for all three of the games on the internet. They sent DMCAs. Because the fan mods and the originals were making their quote-unquote definitive edition look bad. And yes, if you look at any fan mod, obviously they don't have shareholders and money, you know, breathing down their neck to make a product to sell. So fans can always do what big companies just cannot financially, and I understand that. But when you go to the lengths of DMCAing stuff and going after the little guy to make your crappy project look better instead of just making the better product, if they would just take their time, make a really, really good Pokemon game that the fans want, makes a really good Pokemon game that anyone that's a fan of Nintendo wants, we wouldn't be going to other game and franchises for that feeling that old Pokemon games gave us. And Palworld would have been a gigantic flop. Like, I went into the game thinking, oh, this is meme fodder, you know. Look at it, Pokemon with guns that you can shoot and butcher and cook what's basically Pokemon. But I ended up loving the game. And again, I haven't gotten feels like that, like I said, since Pokemon X and Y 11 years ago. It's been 11 years since I have been sucked into a Pokemon game like that. And it's sad because I don't want to see Nintendo, lose and get made a fool out of, and, open up the floodgates for more indie devs to start plagiarizing and, toting that line. I read a comment online that if Pocket Pair wins, it's going to tote that line for other indie developers to be able to plagiarize stuff just under that legal bounds to where, they can't be sued for it. But on the other hand, if Nintendo wins, that's going to set a precedent for them and Sony and any company to just start suing for copyright claims and patents. And it's no matter who wins, we as consumers lose in the end. And I personally don't like the fact that we as the consumers that made these companies just lose in the end. And I am so sick of the AAA slop these developers and these companies are pushing out year after year after year. It honestly feels like the gaming companies, they just don't care anymore unless there's gigantic dollar signs. And I understand that the devs are pressured by the shareholders. The shareholders want to keep increasing profits infinitely, and that's just not physically possible. As you guys know, I am a gameplay channel, not a political channel. But, the bottom line is the reason why gaming sucks nowadays and why a lot of people feel this way is because these AAA companies are just selling us garbage and slop for money. That's all it is. I've been playing a lot of indie games. I've been playing a lot of, really small 10 to 12 hour games as of late because I just haven't had the time to sink 200 hours into a game or sink 130 hours into, a online game or trophy hunt like I used to. But when I set aside time specifically for Palworld because I just couldn't put the game down, that hit something that Pokemon hasn't in years. And I want Nintendo to be able to do the same thing. I want them to take a couple years and make a good Pokemon game. I understand they're not going to be able to do that because they have to line up with the anime, the cards, the merchandising. The games only make up a small percentage of what Pokemon ranks in. But as the highest grossing media franchise, yes, Pokemon makes more money than Disney, than the Marvel franchise, than Bezos, Elon Musk. Pokemon is the top of the top, the cream of the crop. I expect the cream of the crop to be a good game, or at least a halfway decent game. I don't care about graphics. I don't. I hate the fact that we're going into this realistic style that's costing all these companies so much money to do. I want fun gameplay over visuals, over bullshit difficulty, over 80-hour long games. I would take a 20-hour game that is good over an 80-hour slog fest that you have to get 40 hours into before you actually hit the good stuff. And you have to fight all that flop in between. I, as a consumer, do not like where this lawsuit is going. I feel like it's a big company kicking a smaller company down. And I hope to God that Nintendo loses, or at the very least, the judge makes it settled in a way that neither one of the companies, Pocket Pair or Nintendo, wins, but neither one of them loses. That is the outcome I want. I don't want any winners or losers. I want a middle ground to show companies that you can't just go and patent something and sue someone else because they made your product look bad. that doesn't create a healthy ecosystem for games. It doesn't create a healthy business ecosystem for us. No matter where you live, it doesn't matter if you're a US citizen, a Mexican citizen, a Canadian citizen, if you're in Europe, Spain, over in Africa, Asian territories. It doesn't matter where you are on the planet. If Nintendo wins this, it's going to set a precedent for everything. From video games straight down to the smartphones in your pockets, your refrigerators, your TVs, your cars. Because companies are going to see this and they're going to start doing it across the board. And it's just going to make life for everyone more miserable than it already is. I, as a gamer and a consumer of products, hope that an outcome comes that benefits us as the consumers. I know that's not going to happen, but at the end of the day, I really, really hope that is what happens. And I will keep everyone else up to date with any other news that comes out about this lawsuit, because I have been watching it like a hawk. Because I just can't believe that it's even past a patent lawyer. Anyways, I've been UmbreonMoonlight. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, give a like. Comment down below what you guys think about this whole lawsuit thing. And if anyone that's watching me is a lawyer by chance, or a patent attorney, or knows someone that's a patent attorney that wants to comment if I made any mistakes or I didn't understand something, feel free to comment down below. And if you're not subscribed and you like watching my content, hit that subscribe button. We are so close to my goal for this year, 500 subs. We're only about 97, 96 subs away. So hitting that button would greatly be appreciated for me. Let's hit that 500 before the end of the year. I've been UmbreonMoonlight. I hope you all have a good day. Let's hope that whatever comes of this does something for us as gamers above any big corporation. I will see you guys all in the next video.